Hello and welcome. This is Eagle News. I'm David Oria in Washington. It's Saturday once again, the 14th of October 2023, here in the nation's capital. The week's recap begins with the World Health Organization calling an end to the hostilities causing untold suffering in Israel and the Gaza Strip. Rochelle Feria reports.
WHO says more than 1,000 people died when Hamas and others attacked Israel on Saturday. Another 900 are dead after Israel bombed Gaza the following days. Many more are injured in both places. WHO is offering assistance to health officials in both Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi agreed to a WHO request to facilitate delivery of health and other humanitarian supplies from the health agency to Gaza. This via the Rafah crossing. In the Gaza Strip, hospitals are running on backup generators. Fuel for those will likely run out in the coming days. They have exhausted the pre-positioned supplies before the escalation. WHO says the life-saving health response is now dependent on getting new supplies and fuel to healthcare facilities as fast as possible. The health agency also calls for the safe release of hostages, many of whom have urgent health and medical needs. Rochelle Feria, Washington, D.C. Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Meanwhile, let's head over to Canada, where thousands rally in a show of support to both Israel as well as Palestine. Our Toronto correspondent, Ashley Sakmar, has a report.
As a response to the recent violence in the Middle East, people in the city of Toronto have held protests that support Israel and Palestine. The pro-Palestine rally was held at the city center, Nathan Phillips Square, Monday afternoon. According to reports, there were about 1,000 people that marched towards the Israeli embassy on Queen Street. It was also reported that a group was seen waving Palestinian flags over the Gardiner Expressway. Ahead of this pro-Palestine rally, Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow had condemned the protest, calling it unsanctioned, and that any glorifying of the past weekend's indiscriminate violence, including the murder of women and children by Hamas, is deplorable. The pro-Israel rally was held on the same day at Mel Lastman Square in North York, Toronto. Mayor Chow, Premier Ford, and former Mayor John Tory were all in attendance, showing their support. The Toronto sign has been lit blue and white to show the city's solidarity with Israel. The Peace Tower in Ottawa has been illuminated the colors of Israel flag. All official flags in Toronto were also flown half-mast on Tuesday in light of recent events in Israel. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has released an earlier statement expressing his solidarity, calling Canada's support for Israel stands ready and steadfast. Ashley Sakmar, Toronto, Ontario, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In other news, in the United Kingdom, the National Health Service celebrates its Diamond Year. Let's find out from our team there how this milestone anniversary was made even more special. Sarah Alcantara has a story.
July 5 marked the 75 years of the UK's National Health Service. The NHS treats millions of people every day. It's the UK's healthcare backbone and the pride of Britain. In celebration of this major milestone, NHS England and Fujifilm UK launched a photography competition, an opportunity to capture meaningful moments and personal stories by all whose lives have been touched by the NHS. One of the most coveted awards went to Emmanuel Espiritu, a Filipino nurse who won the Our People category. Noel, as is known by friends and family, works as a senior anesthetic nurse for West Middlesex University Hospital.
And I can tell my grandkids that I used to work for the NHS. And I have a mark for the NHS. I have my winning photo in the NHS. She's one of the oldest staff member at West Middlesex Hospital. She has been working at West Middlesex for 47 years. So she had her retirement party last March, and my wife, her colleague, asked me if I can do a photo of her so we can give her a physical gift when she retires. That's how I came up with that photo.
Filipino nurses play a significant part in the day-to-day operations of the NHS. International demand for nurses is on the rise, with the Philippines being the biggest exporter of nurses in the world. An estimated 30,000 Filipinos work in the NHS, making it the third largest ethnic group in their workforce. During the height of the pandemic, the momentous breakthrough of the COVID-19 vaccine was first administered by a Filipino nurse, May Parsons, a veteran nurse of 17 years in the NHS. Far from home in their families and often working long shifts, Filipino nurses in the UK are not without their personal struggles, masking their own homesickness by working long hours, often to sustain the financial needs of their loved ones back in the Philippines, and of course, saving up for an opportunity to fly back home for short vacations. Known for their resilience, compassion, and hardworking nature, the Filipino nurses are certainly part of a huge team of dedicated workers, making a positive difference in the lives of many patients and the pride of the healthcare industry, not only in the UK, but around the world.
Nursing is not just about doing all these technical stuffs, but also being someone who get to support your patient physically, emotionally, even mentally, and spiritually.
Being raised as a good Filipino, so I just add in the good things about other people's culture and subtract the bad things, and that's how I go on with my life here.
3 words that does describe a Filipino nurse for me is number 1, resilient, hardworking,
and loving.
I am Sara Alcantara, London Bureau. Stay alert, for we live in extraordinary times.
Hospitality industry workers in the state of Nevada take to the picket lines demanding increase in wages and better benefits. Our Las Vegas Bureau Chief, Anna Cui, speaks to some of them. Anna?
For the first time in over 3 decades, thousands of culinary and bartenders union members held picket lines at multiple hotel properties on the Las Vegas Strip Thursday as negotiations for a new 5-year contract have yet to show any signs of progress. Culinary Union represents 60,000 hospitality workers in Nevada, 53,000 of which are based in Las Vegas. We spoke with Ted Papageorge, Secretary-Treasurer of the Culinary Union, and here's what he had to say about the negotiations.
Well, we've been bargaining with these large companies on the Strip for over 5 months. MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment, and also Wynn Resorts, and we haven't made any progress. And the workers have made several big decisions. One was to end the contract extensions that happened a couple weeks ago, and then to hold a vote.
Union members voted by 95% last month to authorize a citywide strike. Let's listen again to Papageorge.
Today, this picketing is to send a clear, powerful message to this industry that they need to come to the bargaining table with some reasonable proposals in hopes of settling a contract, because we're not going to take second class.
Papageorge said they're proposing the largest wage increases ever negotiated in the history of the Culinary Union. He also said, in addition to wages, healthcare and pension are critical because people are still dealing with inflation since the pandemic. A language against technology and AI eliminating jobs is also part of the proposal.
Everybody thinks, and we know that pay and wages and benefits are super important. But if you don't have job security, it doesn't matter. You can get a $10 an hour raise, but if they can subcontract out your job or tech can take your job, it doesn't matter. So there really isn't one that's more important than the other. They all fit together, and that's what a union contract does.
A good contract is echoed by union workers and say they're ready to go on strike.
Sign the soon as possible. We don't want to get to this point. And we want the first thing for everybody. We don't want to get to this point, but if we have to, we got to go all the way.
Not everyone is eager to go on strike, however. Here's Judy Rowe, who has been a union member since 1994.
We're on a tightrope right now because, again, we don't know if we're going to have to go out on strike. Strike is not fun. I've never been out on strike. But I definitely know when I haven't been able to work, I'm not earning anything. And then I worry about paying the bills. Now, how many of us are going to have to go out on strike and then become homeless? That is the scarier part for me.
According to Papa George, the next round of negotiations is scheduled before the end of October, and he said they'll be ready to set a strike deadline if it doesn't settle a great contract.
One of the problems is these companies have made this incredible recovery, and they have these incredible events coming in like Formula One or the Super Bowl and CES and New Year's, but they can't do it without the workers.
All of these buildings that you see all around us, they are not maintained by these people that are running the show. They are ran by us. We are the front lines, we take it all, we clean it up, and we're supposed to do it with a smile.
And we think it's unfortunate companies may have forgotten the fact that it's the workers that got them to these incredible profits. And they're the reason that they can have these incredible events. So they got to come to the table, and we'll see.
In Las Vegas and Akui, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Extraordinary stories from Thomas I. Likens today. From Guatemalan chickens sustaining indigenous people's way of life, to how Wallace flying frogs hide from its predators, to a new bungee jumping record. All these and more on Correspondent at Large.
And now news and commentary from around the globe. The Hamas attack on Israel has dominated the news for the past week. Many other stories have been pushed to the back pages, as it were. Others have just not been reported. Today, I'll tell you a few stories that have fallen by the wayside. We begin with guns. American firearms manufacturers are going to love this one. Gun ownership among women is growing. It's an expanding market for gun makers. A Harvard University study suggests that 42% of gun owners in the U.S. are women. That's a 14% increase in the last 5 years. More women are frequenting shooting ranges, and around the country, a number of female gun clubs are sprouting up. They have names like the Shooting Divas, Gunpowder Gals, A Girl and a Gun. Why the trend? Well, for some, target shooting is recreation, but others, like Nurse Adrienne Williams, well, she bought a gun because she's worried about her safety.
Having that level of protection, it definitely makes me feel more secure, so that, I'm 5 foot tall. So if someone did approach me, that I have something to give myself a fighting chance.
Sharnetta Sams agrees.
Unfortunately, the world's getting a little bit crazy, and so I think it's important for women to be able to defend themselves, especially women, because it seems to be a bit of a war on women, unfortunately.
In a country with 300 million people, there are more than 430 million firearms in civilian hands. More guns than people. And it's scary that that number is on the rise. In Guatemala, indigenous people are relying on chickens to keep them in their country. One of them, 28-year-old Rebecca Perez, hopes her brood of hens will keep her from emigrating to the United States, as her brothers have done. Every day, Perez collects eggs to sell in her village. Although many of her neighbors in the Mayan settlement have left, she wants to stay and provide for her 2 children with her feathery flock. Perez says she can generate income locally instead of in the U.S. She started a business in 2016 with just a handful of hens. Perez now has 300 birds and hopes to have 1,000 by next year. And she has a market in the village that employs 6 women. The region is one of the poorest in the country. Poverty and gang violence have prompted many people to leave. Well, how do you hide in plain sight? You disguise yourself. This species of frogs, they're native to Southeast Asia, has a unique way of going incognito. This little guy is a young Wallace's flying frog. Notice the unusual color pattern. The camouflage resembles animal droppings. A team of researchers studying the critters figures that's how the frogs hide from predators like birds. Now, as the amphibians mature, the spots disappear and they take on their iconic green color. Incidentally, Wallace's flying frogs can glide 16 meters from tree to tree. That's because of the skins between their toes, arms, and legs. And from the world record file, we meet a New Zealander who smashed the record for the most bungee jumps in 24 hours. 41-year-old Mike Hurd leapt off the Auckland Bridge 941 times last week. That's well above the previous record of 765 jumps that was set last year in Scotland. Now, the bungee jump at the bridge is a 40-meter drop. Hurd says part of his motivation was the desire to bring the record home. He says, bungee jumping is just part of the New Zealand DNA. He also collected donations which were given to a mental health charity. Hurd is no stranger to world records. Twice before, in 2008 and 2017, he set the world record for bungee jumps. And I'll be back in 7 days, but in the meantime, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. Thomas I. Likeness, Correspondent at Large, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Envisioning a world reshaped by innovative solutions and environmental commitment, Visions 2030 Earth Edition explores pathways to a sustainable and resilient future. In Santa Clarita, California, Ava and Alan tell us more on Down to Earth.
Issues facing the planet and strategies for addressing them are the focal points of Visions 2030 Earth Edition.
Climate change, global health concerns, and sustainability are a few of the matters bringing innovative minds from various fields to this eco-inspired think tank.
This is a place where people can come and see a wide variety of experiences that engage participants in new solutions, new ideas, and opportunities to dream their own ideal future. Well, the Lumisphere experience is a 3-chamber journey through 3 geodesic domes. It spans 4,300 square feet. It was designed to take people on a journey to reconnect to the things that they care about, to inspire them to open their hearts, open their imaginations, to envision what an ideal eco-future might look like. At the end of the first 2 domes, you enter into a 3rd chamber where you are invited to use specially created software driven by AI technology to create a visual representation of the future that you hope to see. One of the main reasons why we've created the Earth Edition Festival to bring creative voices together, to have the opportunity to share ideas, share inspiration, have a baseline of hope, which becomes the springboard from which new, compelling ideas are going to come from.
We are inside the Zukunft Garden. It's a multisensory experience. It's not only an exhibit that you walk through. We would like this to be your home. We would like this, we would like you to make it your home and to just come in, take a nap, read a book, have a deep convo with someone about a radical subject that will change the world.
Now, community is the new hero. It takes all of us together on this planet to be its steward, to take care of it, to not only, or even just interact with it safely. And together, only as communities, can we make things happen. In the past, we sort of dreamt up these dystopian scenarios, and we actually brought them to life. Hey, you'll have paved roads everywhere. And that was cool. We were like, oh, we could go everywhere with our car, until it wasn't. And then you're like, yo, we paved over everything and now there's no nature. But now we are endeavoring to do a different world and what we call optimistic futuring. We can redream the future and create it. And that's what the Zukunft Garden is all about, a place for imagination infrastructure that we could build on great ideas and put those ideas out into the world.
We're trying to tap into local talent, organizations, groups of people, musicians, artists who are already doing the work. They're already creating inspiration. They're already doing deep research. They're already working with solutions. They understand the importance of the issue, whether or not this is perfect, imperfect. People are invested in trying to make things better.
Through art, through immersive experiences, through music, through food, and through community, how can we make a shift? And that is through being transported. And that is what this experience is about. Anybody who's open wants to have a good time, wants to meet other cool people, people who really are doing things in the world to make it a better world. This is your place. You can do goat yoga. There's family activities. There's literally something for everybody.
From integrated technology to policy reform, this event challenges attendees to look through a visionary's lens.
This in an effort to inspire thoughts and critical planning of how we as a society can achieve a sustainable and regenerative future for everyone.
Eva and Alan, Valencia, California, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Let's head over to Pennsylvania and discover how the state helps take care of the environment. Myla Simbulan reports.
One of Pennsylvania's pride is its amazing outdoor spaces. Its local parks and acres of natural spaces are hometown treasures. In fact, Keystone State Park in Westmoreland County is voted top fall foliage destination in the country by USA Today. Beyond the beauty these trees provide for annual fall foliage viewing, they are critical to providing clean air and water across the state. To help enhance the experience of visiting public lands, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources awards over $52 million to over 225 local projects across the Commonwealth. Projects aim to help communities connect more trails, improve more parks, and help more Pennsylvanians and visitors enjoy their time outside. Myla Simbulan, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Consumer inflation in the United States appeared to show signs of stability in September, offering a glimmer of hope for U.S. policymakers. New York correspondent Bobby Soriano reports with the latest numbers on Mind Your Business.
Inflation in the United States remained stable last month, offering some respite for consumers battling price increases. The Consumer Price Index rose by 3.7% from a year ago, the same rate as in August, according to the Labor Department. However, on a month-to-month basis, inflation slowed from 0.6% to 0.4%. Excluding volatile food and energy segments, the index cooled to 4.1%, the lowest in 2 years. President Biden highlighted a 60% reduction in overall inflation from its peak and attributed the reduction to his economic agenda, referring to it as Bidenomics in action. The Federal Reserve also continues to monitor inflation levels closely, as a continued downward trend in levels would reduce the need for further interest rate hikes. However, analysts believe the central bank might also wait for sustained lower inflation over a period of months before making any major decision. Additionally, global concerns are arising from recent unrest in the Middle East, particularly due to a surprise attack by the militant group Hamas on Israel over the weekend. This development has attracted analysts' attention, emphasizing the need for monitoring geopolitical events impacting the global energy market. So what does this mean for the average consumer? Well, don't expect prices for everyday items to go down, but we might finally be seeing the end of the price jumps that are tightening everyone's budget. Bobby Soriano, New York, New York, Eagle News, we live extraordinary times.
Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Marape meets with resident Chinese Ambassador Zhang Fanghua about his upcoming visit to China this month. Here's Echo Ortaleza Quinola on Oceania at a Glance.
The talk with resident Chinese Ambassador Zhang Fanghua deals with logical, crucial policy. and administrative preparation for Prime Minister James Marape's official visit to China this October. The Prime Minister is looking forward to the formalization of two significant events: Papua New Guinea's membership in the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, based in Beijing, and the Air Services Agreement between Guangzhou and Port Moresby. Marape is expected to come back before the opening of the World Indigenous Business Forum hosted by Papua New Guinea. From Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
It's Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th, and today we will get to know Corpus Christi, Texas native Melina Gosa. Melina is the public relations head of the city's newest indoor professional football team. She shares with us her reflections on how it is to be a Hispanic woman working in a male-dominated industry. Jane Kathleen Gregorio has that story.
Each year, from September 15th through October 15th, America celebrates National Hispanic Heritage Month, a time for people from all backgrounds to learn, appreciate, and commemorate the rich tapestry of Hispanic and Latino cultures. Today, we feature Corpus Christi native Melina Gosa, who currently serves a dual role as Public Relations Manager for the city's newest indoor football team, the Corpus Christi Tritons, and Director of Community Relations for the AIF, or American Indoor Football League.
Hispanic Heritage Month has always been really important to me. While I was born in Corpus Christi, I was raised in Dallas-Fort Worth, and there was immense diversity within there. So coming back many years ago, back to Corpus to plant my own roots here, felt special. We know that we contribute to the world in which we live, in the society in which we can give back. And so being a Hispanic and being celebrated during Hispanic Heritage Month, it shows how far we've come, that we're not what fits in a box. And so as a Hispanic female, it's an honor.
For several years, Corpus Christi lacked its own professional football team.
Texas is king when it comes to football. However, any professional football that people have to go to see, they have to go to Houston, they have to go to Dallas.
Recently, however, the Corpus Christi Tritons announced its inaugural season with the AIF for 2024, with Melina heading its public relations and the AIF naming her as Director of Community Relations.
AIF has been around since 1997, and so the idea behind American Indoor Football is to go into those communities and those markets to be able to bring the camaraderie and the fun of football to those communities. And so when the opportunity arose to have our own football team, it was something that I felt needed to be led into for all the children and our inner city youth to be able to see professional football players right here playing. Being a Hispanic female in the lead of public relations and marketing for a local indoor American football team, as well as at the league level, overseeing all of the communities, is ensuring that the fans of all ages, while not also breaking the pocketbook. So, and in Hispanic culture, we like to have fun, we like to party, but everybody pulls together to have that fun, and everybody pulls their resources. So, being a Latina in that world and being able to bring a mixture of that makes me proud. We were recently recognized by Congressman Michael Cloud's office, who gave us a proclamation, the team of proclamation, thanking us for bringing family fun to Corpus Christi and the sports entertainment world.
In Corpus Christi, Texas, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio with Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Before we let you go, here's our photo of the week. This photo of mommy and daughter was taken at Gilbert Run Park in Charlotte Hall, Maryland. The weather is getting colder, so spend time outdoors as long as you can. Thank you, Lizzie, for this photo. And thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics you want us to share with you, just comment below. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and X at Eagle News Live. I'm David Oria. We live in extraordinary times. Stay happy and healthy, everyone.